welcome to the Astrology and Spirituality Show for week commencing the 29th of November. What an exciting week it is, because on Monday we have a cazimi, an exact conjunction between the Sun and Mercury. This means the Sun's radiance inspires the clarity of the planet Mercury, but in the sign of Sagittarius, this is pushing us to be as open-minded and agile in our thinking as possible. Now, travel obviously is something that's difficult for a lot of people due to COVID. If it wasn't for COVID, this would be promoting a lot of desire to explore and check out different cultures, and that could be by physical travel too. So our current environment is informing things a little bit around the astrology. And then, of course, later this week, we've got the total solar eclipse in Sagittarius. The big takeouts from this is the Sun does forge a very positive link with Saturn this week. So where we're expanding our thinking or our journey in a constructive, steady and well-checked way, it can be sustainable. But by the end of the week, the total solar eclipse, though still in contact with Saturn, is in a quincunx with Uranus in the second house of the overall zodiac, and the eclipse in the ninth. So over the next 6 months, I think we're going to be pushed back in terms of perhaps spending money without thinking so much about why it is. So more impulsive spending may be challenged. We're also going to be thinking much more, even more, about planetary resources, which I know is a pretty big theme anyway. A lot of conversation, thinking about this, but you know, the more that we consume without thinking about the impact of it. So I think it is possible that things like air flight and cruise ship travel, those kind of things, could become more taxed on the back of this particular total solar eclipse. But it is a fantastic opportunity to think outside the box, be open-minded, to embrace our own personal freedom in terms of how we go about our lives, our relationship to our situation. So even if we feel very pinned in by the restrictions, if we can sort of reimagine our approach to some of these the best we can, and that could be, for example, by taking on a course online, learning a new hobby, learning a language, or to play an instrument. A lot of things are possible due to technology these days. That's the upside of the technology. Now, in terms of the Hermetic Will, are we still in the Eight of Wands?
We are up until Wednesday. So until Wednesday, we have the Eight of Wands energy, which we said last week is very fast moving. It's a bit impulsive. It's very go-getting. It's charging. It's like go, go, go right now. But then on Wednesday, we shift into the Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands is a bit more reserved, a bit more protective. It asks us to protect anything that we've created. So in a business sense, this could be get our work copyrighted, get our work trademarked, make sure that anything we put our efforts into, that we get the credit we deserve for it. And that might mean that we have to take steps to do that. But it's important not to back down and let other people, take credit for our hard work.
Can it be a point of weariness in the journey?
It can, because after the nine, we'll move on to a card which is a bit more burdensome. So we're in that in-between stage of wanting to get things done, but also knowing that we've got a long way to go until it's, comes to fruition. So yeah, we might just have to protect ourselves a little bit, protect our opinion, our point of view this week with people that are close to us.
Okay, that's brilliant. Now, we didn't have a word of the week entered for this week, so if you have an idea for the word of the week or a concept you'd like us to discuss for the show for week commencing the 6th of December, please enter it in this week's show underneath the video. So we've imagined a word that we think challenges us because it's different to the more kind of caring dialogue or type of words that we'd use. So we're going to challenge ourselves by tackling the word ambition. So what's your take on that? We literally thought of this about 5 minutes ago.
Ambition for me it's so important. I think sometimes it gets a bad rap. It's seen as being maybe very overtly masculine, or it gets a bad material, like we're trampling over other people perhaps. But for me, I don't think that's the case. We have to have ambition in life to propel ourselves forwards. Last week we spoke about that vision, and for me, ambition is a way to reach that. If we're not challenging ourselves, if we're not testing ourselves, then we're not going to grow. So for me, ambition is a brilliant thing. What comes up for you with that word?
Well, I think you're absolutely right about, it's very often linked to a sort of more masculine energy, but ambition could be to spend more time with our grandchildren, or to spend more time on a hobby, or our art, or listening to music. That could be our ambition to create that space. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the wider world of competing. Not everybody wants to race to the boardroom. A lot of us might have sort of concerns about what that would mean for your other areas of life in terms of your personal relationships. But it is right what Elisa's saying. Just because there was that old sort of sense that people would be quite ruthless to achieve their ambitions, it doesn't mean to say that all leaders are ambitious to the point of not caring for others. So you can see some wonderful examples of ambition for a change in the way we do things. So, for example, the Director General of the Confederation of British Business and Industry said that he thought not enough investment had gone into communities since big industries like coal, steel, production in past years in the United Kingdom, there hadn't been enough investment. It had been cut and burn. They weren't making money in that particular year of operation to close them down. So his ambition was to have a change of thinking, think much more about inclusiveness society and how we can create extra skills. What a fantastic ambition. And he's a leader, obviously, of a very esteemed organisation. So it doesn't always follow that people involved in the world of business or money are bad people. So we need to challenge that, I think.
Yeah, I love that.
Now, in terms of the modality, what oracle card have you thought of for this week?
Well, we haven't used these for a really, really long time, back in the days of our daily show, so I thought that we would bring them.
Yeah, we had a bit of a reminiscence whilst we were scrabbling around trying to get this ready, because we're so late today, and we're thinking, oh my word, we used to do this every day this time last year, every single day, right round, I think, to when we left our old house. We were doing the show every day. It was just a fantastic feat to do that.
Yeah,
so
it was.
What cards have you chosen?
These are called the Angels of Atlantis Oracle cards.
Oh, yeah.
And I really love these. I used these with a client the other day, and I just realised how much I'd missed them. So let's give them a shuffle. Would you like to pick one?
Okay, thank you.
You seem to be on target with messages when you pick them.
Okay, so there you go.
Oh, wow. Oh. The words on this card is Archangel Sandalphon, and the word is love. Archangel Sandalphon is one of two angels, the other being Metatron, that was said to have a human existence before they became an angel. So in that kind of, if you want to call it a legend, if you want to call it a mythology, if you want to take that as the truth, it's an interesting angel to work with because he understands a human experience, which is phenomenal. And the word on this card is love, which it transcends a human experience, really. Love is, speaks all languages, cuts through all, spiritual boundaries. It's phenomenal. And so I think that, thinking this week about things that we hold dear. I was listening to an actor the other day. I've totally forgotten his name, but he was talking about his mother who had passed away. And he was talking about his grief and how he was sort of holding his grief as a positive thing because it made him realise, the grief was a reminder of how much he loved her.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a fantastic way of viewing it, that when we get that pang of missing somebody, that it means that the love was there.
It was so precious.
And it was so precious. So something to maybe let ourselves maybe have a few tears this week, or just think about what love we want to invite into our lives.
Oh, that's so lovely. So we did have 2 entrants into the birthday free prize draw. However, the first person who entered was called Andrea. But Andrea, you didn't put a time, place and your current location. I did write to you, but you didn't reply. So the winner is Karen James. But just before I go into Karen's chart, I would just like to say, Shelley Walker, thank you so much for your lovely, kind feedback. And Yasmin, thank you for yours. Sitting up in bed, eating your breakfast, watching the show, and you say we make you smile, so that's great. And Alini, you often give such wonderful feedback. One of the stalwarts of our watchers, and she really liked Alyssa's hair last week. So the winner is Karen, and Karen was born on the 4th of December in 1962 at 3:20 a.m. in Farnborough, but in London, not in Hampshire, so just in the borough of Orpington. So, and Karen now lives in Bexhill-on-Sea. So, okay, let's have a look at your natal chart first of all, Karen. So an ascendant at 22 degrees Libra. Wow. So you've got Pluto right pitching on your 4th house cusp in equal house astrology. So a lot of change, probably some very delicate stuff around family or where you live, your emotions, setting boundaries. Your ascendant is very, very close to mine. Mine's 23. So that's actually a very nice place to have an ascendant. But not because it's conjunct mine, but because it's conjunct a lovely fixed star. You also have the North Node right at the top of your chart, conjunct your 10th house, and you also have Mars in Leo. So I think you're someone who has had some kind of status or success, some position of authority in your life. You may be very good at amateur dramatics or music or some kind of creative stuff that puts you in the spotlight. But the two other factors that make me suck my cheeks in a little bit is that your midpoint between your Sun at 11 degrees in Sagittarius and 4 degrees in Pisces is actually 22 degrees Capricorn. So you've actually got your midpoint conjunct the move in Pluto at the moment. So, wow. So the balance of your nature is quite Capricornian. It's in the 3rd house. You're a very thorough and a very efficient communicator, I would say. But I would say that ascendant squaring the move in Pluto has been very tender around emotional stuff recently. Then you've got Pluto on the midpoint. So a huge transformation going on in your very being, the balance of your masculine and more feminine qualities. But also, when you were born, you had Saturn in the 4th house, which, you know, can be quite a limiting place for the 4th, for Saturn. But you have the moon there, which is very compassionate. So, and you're having your Saturn return. So some huge stuff going on, to be quite honest. So the big thing to tell you about is by the end of this year and early next year, you are going to have a Jupiter return, and also Saturn ends its second solar Saturn return for you. So I think there has been a lot going on around where you live, who you live with, family life, a property matter. I don't necessarily think it's been particularly easy. You had Saturn square Venus when you were born, so that's being re-emphasized at the moment by the move in Saturn squaring that Venus, but also on the other side of the heavens, in your 7th house of relationships, Uranus is opposite your Venus, forging a T-square with both your natal Saturn and the move in Saturn. So I think this Saturn square Uranus has probably been quite tough over the last year for you, as it has been for me, because my moon and Venus are also caught up in that T-square as well. Now, in terms of your solar return, it doesn't actually happen on the day of the eclipse. It happens the day before, because the sun returns just a little before. So it's on the 3rd of December, not the 4th. But it does show that you've got Saturn, Jupiter and Neptune, along with Eros, the planet of deep love, all in your 1st house, and Pluto conjunct Venus in your 12th house. So again, I think the way that your life pattern is going at the moment, it seems to me there's some big transitions going on. The moon is obviously approaching the point of when the eclipse occurs, but it's not quite there. So it is just on your 10th house. So whatever happens in the next year, I think it's going to be difficult to hide your emotions, even though Saturn in the 4th house can make it at times feel a little bit inhibiting. But then you have Moon in the lovely Pisces in the 4th house. So like everyone, there are some contradictions there. But I think you have been through a very, very big time, and it is going to continue for a bit, but by the end of February, I think you will feel a lightening. Things will get easier, particularly when that Jupiter return occurs. Now, if you would like to enter your details in the free birthday prize draw, your birthday needs to be from the 6th through till the 12th of December. Please share your time, date and place and where you're living now. Otherwise, it's difficult for me to do it properly. And thank you so much for all your lovely comments, your interaction. Please share a word of the week if you want one for the next show. For now, it is
Goodbye from him.
and it's goodbye from her. Goodbye.